Okay, good morning, everyone. 7:30, we'll start the meeting. Dr. Lockhart?
Okay, so we have a couple of things that I want to update you guys on and some things for thinking ahead as we come into the second half of this year. First, we have February 9th is our next professional development day for teachers. Students are off that day. Just so the two of you are aware, we've approached professional development differently this year, and we're trying to model with the teachers what we want them to be doing with students. So we've done personalized professional development. So when we started in November, they formed learning teams based around what area they wanted to get better in personalized learning. We advertised for, I guess, for lack of a better word, and had about 25 teachers who agreed to be learning team leads. So we've been training them along the way to facilitate the work in these learning teams. So they started in November. They made commitments around what they wanted to get better at. They did some learning in their teams about the areas. So it might be authentic learning. It might be path and pace. So depending on what they wanted to get better at, they're working in across grade level, across subject areas in these teams. They do some work on those days, and then they come back and share what they learned and what they're working on. We also have built in some check-in points. So in December, the learning team leads checked in with the teachers to make sure they were working, just a written email check-in. But in January, towards the end of this month, they will be doing a face-to-face meeting with each of their learning team, the members of their learning team, to make sure they're working in the direction that they're supposed to. So in February, when they come back, we've planned the day. They'll do some learning in the morning. They'll do some work on whatever it is they want to do in their classroom. And then they'll come back together and share that. The purpose of this was twofold. Number one, we got a lot of feedback from teachers over the past year or so that when we allow them the work time, they appreciate that. But also, we really have done a lot of front loading with the personalized learning, and we're kind of to a point where we can't just keep talking at you. We have to give you the time to do the work, to plan the lessons, to change what you're doing in your classrooms, to work with your peers. So that's why we took this approach. We're getting really good feedback. March will be, the morning will be them coming together one more time, but then in the afternoon we're going to do a showcase. And they're going to be sharing them with the whole team. It's the heater. They'll be sharing with the whole district some sort of presentation. We haven't really worked out what that looks like. But so that's what we're doing, professional development, just putting it on your radar that we have another one coming up, and then there'll be one at the beginning of March.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So do we do anything, if you're doing that, you're asking them what they want to work on, do we ever do anything, here's the topics that we think groups of teachers need to work on, based on their evals and whatnot, and have professional development centered around that. So if you have 5 groups, these are the 5 things that you can choose, whatever. Do we have, here's the 5 things we think people need to work on?
We do both. So we'll do that, this is kind of more of a personalized learning approach, and kind of coming from the strategic plan. One of the goals of the strategic plan is personalized learning.
Right.
And then the next part is through the evaluation process. We utilize coaches, we utilize coaching model for areas of growth in that aspect, as well as just general updates throughout. There are things that we have to do, like the new curriculum. We have to do professional development to do the new curriculum, which is more of a this is what we need you to do, and that's all the way through. The reading one is through 6th grade this year.
Yes.
Through 6th grade. So we still have 7th and 8th to kind of build on science and reading, but that was a more of a forced PD and forced learning. But then this personalized learning is, okay, now that you've got this scripted curriculum, how can you take that and utilize one of the guiding stones of personalized learning to kind of take it and tailor it to your classroom and the students in there?
This year, in terms of student services, I'm also using our internal monitoring meetings that are held quarterly at the building level as an opportunity to provide professional development on specific areas of special education that I've found that we need some continued support and development in order to have carryover consistently throughout the district.
Now, there's no wrong answer to this question. I'm just curious. how often do, for example, all the second graders from all the buildings have time together compared to either second graders of just one building, second grade teachers of just one building, or the whole faculty as one?
So every Wednesday, we have our teacher-based teams, our TB team meetings, and they are we schedule them out now throughout the year. So we look at it, maybe once a month they're together across the district and they Zoom. Up here it's different because they're all together and they probably get together more frequently, as does Lamouth. We had to be real intentional at the elementary level. So I think they're at about once a month where they do a district-wide. Their feedback over the years has been, the district-wide meeting is great, like to you know what I mean, to look at data, to do a touch point, you know what I mean, see where everybody's at. But when you get down and you're talking about classroom practices, building teams are more effective. So sometimes we do building teams, sometimes we'll do vertical teams, you know what I mean, where they'll do within the buildings. But we have a calendar for that,
Nice.
that we kind of plan it out. The other thing that I would say is that this first year of personalized learning was a kind of choose your own adventure, okay? But in conjunction with this, through the DLT, we're also starting to really formalize our instructional rounds, where teachers are going into other classrooms. We're using the Riverside Way document, which is what we as a community meaning educators decided we would like to see in each Riverside classroom, and I can share that with you guys so you can see it. About 2 years ago we did that. Looking for, if this is what we agreed each classroom should look like, are we seeing these things in each classroom? And doing it, administration and teachers and groups, so doing that quick check-in, you know what I mean? And so from that process, we will begin next year to develop a problem of practice. And looking at then, what do we really need to work on each building-wise? So, you know what I mean? So starting to drill down where buildings will say, you know, we don't really see a lot of student choice. You know what I mean? And that's a big tenet of personalized learning. What can we do? And then we'll start to personalize what you're talking about, Belinda, based on the data that we have and what is needed in the building, and then how do we want to approach it. So we're growing into that, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, construction update from the teaching perspective. I know that you got kind of an update of where the buildings are. CTE building is pretty good. The wing over there, they're really just doing touch-ups. The construction class is building the furniture right now, so they're putting that together. The TVs are mounted. We don't have the 4-in-1 3D printers are not in yet. So the advanced manufacturing class is not down there. So I'm guessing a couple of weeks before we actually have, construction will probably be in there first because they're ready to go. They can hardly wait to start using that big open space. Healthcare will probably be second, and then as the equipment that comes in for the advanced manufacturing space, we'll move those kids down there too. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll be full on in there. And I know that Chris had given an update on the Riverview moves, that third grade's going to the new classrooms, and we'll have a first, a second, and an ED classroom in that empty pod then. Part of the reason that we're gonna move the ED classroom is number one, I think their location, Camille was concerned about, and I don't know if you wanna speak to
Is
that.
it first floor?
It's on the second floor. Right now they have one classroom space. We did build out a smaller area for them to be able to take a break, you know, have some time and space alone. But what we found is really we need two separate areas. So a small group room as well as a classroom. So if a student is dysregulated, not ready to go into their classroom, that they have a safe space that they're able to access in order to be regulated and then go to class and be able to, you know, access their education appropriately. Any questions about that? Okay.
And then the former ED classroom, which is in the hallway right by the art room, we're going to put actually we think, the overflow 4th grade in there right now, which will then become the overflow 5th grade next year, because it's literally right down the hall from 5th grade. So it would be a nice transition and right down, you know what I mean? So it'll be a good move. hopefully we can put that teacher in there and not have to move that classroom again next year, because it'll just transition to a fifth grade classroom. This afternoon, Rich and I are going over, and actually John Renwick's gonna meet us. We need to go over, is technology ready in that wing? What needs to be done to make sure we can teach in there on Tuesday? And Rich and I need to look at furniture to see what needs to be moved. So we'll be doing that this afternoon. Plan is for, teachers have started moving their stuff, the third grade teachers down and putting stuff in cabinets. They're not gonna box it, they're just gonna take it down, put it right into the cabinets. But maintenance over this weekend will be moving furniture and whatever boxes there might be from other teachers to get them where they need to go.
So overall, do we have more than 12 classrooms in any grade?
You mean
Right, I mean, we
elementary
built the
wise?
schools with pods that hold 4 classrooms.
Fifth grade is large, current fifth, but it,
I guess, you know, I think from my perspective, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, there's that word nobody likes to talk about.
fifth grade's got the
You know,
bubble, I think.
Redistricting.
Oh.
Yes. There's
Nobody
going,
wants to say out loud.
there's gonna be a need to.
We need to say-
And
we
it's-
need to say it
I
out
think
loud.
we need to
It's
say it,
gonna
I think we need to start really looking hard at it. I think with the additional classrooms at Riverview, there are definitely some opportunities to investigate what that looks like. I also think that we are seeing Parkside having consistently smaller numbers than they've had in the past. And so we could look to put some other students that way. We actually reduced a third grade section this year. We have a kindergarten class, they're great numbers for kindergarten, but they're not in the norm with the district.
Right.
So looking at kind of balancing some of those out along the way.
That took a year, if I remember right. Like
It
trying to
does.
figure out
So
like how
it's-
that was gonna work and whatnot, and trying to project. Right.
And so it would be, depending on what we do with the entire Buckeye project, we would look at, you can't just do the Buckeye project as a standalone, it would be an and then so we would look at that concurrently with, potentially putting 12 classrooms or how many classrooms with Buckeye. If we were to do something to that aspect, it would come with the redistricting, and then that would be our elementaries.
Yeah, that to me is sort of a little bit more important, just getting back to where we thought we were gonna be and evening everything out instead of having large, too many kids, not enough kids, like.
Holistically, we are seeing a decline in population from a county standpoint, even from a Northeast Ohio standpoint. And I think we're not immune from that. I think we do see the potential of some new developments coming. I know that there's been some delays in starting those, but the land is there and it's, they're kind of putting out, there are other developments that are coming along. I think we have to look at it and see where things.
We haven't fluctuated much in overall,
We are.
in 10 years.
I think even since we looked at historical enrollment from even the beginning, I think we've got a number of years, and we're within 100 students a class every year. Now, it's a big difference, from 13 years, but it's not, you don't see that much of a difference. I think when we're all said and done, we'll land about, what, 350 a class, maybe a little bit under?
Maybe
I
a
would
little-
say
I would
we'll be
say-
closer to 300, to be honest with you.
I was gonna say, probably a little
Yeah.
under, I think those large classes were 350, 370.
When you were at
When
Luke,
you
we
were
were
at
pushing
Luke.
They were
800.
we were
You were
four.
at 800 people.
Yeah, we were over 400 at some times. We had a push at that point. That was also, there were some open enrollment
Yeah.
still at that
Right.
point, and that's all.
That's all gone.
I,
That's all gone.
I think we're sitting between 3 and 320 for the most part at our elementary level. You know what I mean? Once we get this fifth grade through, that
Okay.
seems to be more of the, now we have one that dips down to like 280, you know what I mean? But for the most part, I would say we're sitting around 300, 320. So we're down.
This year's kindergarten is at
Good.
250,
Yeah.
that's incredibly small. But then we're under, we have a fourth grade's the anomaly with 333. Fourth and fifth grade, but then the rest are under 300, and I think that's about where we.
How much fluctuation do you typically see throughout their whole 13 years? I mean, 250, you think by the time they get to graduation, is it typically a similar number?
Within 20,
So I
give or
I
take.
did a whole attendance, or like a whole enrollment thing, because there was there's a big push that in 6th grade, we take on a bunch of kids, and there's a big push that we take on a bunch of kids in 8th or 9th grade, transitioning from private schools. We pick up about 30 between 5th and 6th grade some years. That's the most that we have picked up.
Why is there a pickup between 5th and 6th grade?
Well, because it's a good transition, because
That's a good
everybody's
start.
going to Lamouth, so people will send their kids in 6th grade,
Oh, okay.
because everybody's new.
It's a
You know what I mean?
natural
Yeah.
transition.
And then, in 8th grade, we will see a bit of a jump, but I don't know, it's maybe 20 to 25. So it is not sometimes there's a perception that we get this huge influx.
I think we get people in 9th grade and then but we also lose.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
we lose people, we may get them at 8th, I think we lose them in 9th when they go to schools like Catholic that are only 9, 12.
So they stay, the bottom line is, it stays fairly steady.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It doesn't, so when we're talking up here, or we're talking at Lamouth, and they'll say we're bursting at the seams, I'll be like, well, in 2 years, you're not going to be. You know what I mean? It's not going to be as tight as it is right now, so.
Currently at the high school, our largest class is the senior class at 321. And then they actually have 2 very small classes coming through at 270 in 8th grade and 272 in 9th grade. So they have there's some room there. The next biggest class is the 6th grade class, which is 330. And then you're looking at 4th grade at 333. And then everything else is under 5th grade is large too, I'm sorry, 5th grade is.
4th or 5th
like,
grade
I think you have to do,
are-
yeah, 4th and 5th are pretty big, but then everything else is under 300.
Okay.
And 4th or 5th grade would have been our COVID.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what I mean, like where parents held their students back
Sure.
Yeah.
because of that.
6th grade is when it stopped, 5th grade is, because my son's in 5th grade and he was 2021.
Okay, so I knew one of those 2 years where we have a big jump was our COVID.
That was the
year.
kindergarten.
Yeah, when they
Held
came
their-
in, yeah,
held their-
people delayed sending their kids. to
And there
school.
are changes that are going to impact this year with enrollment as well, because state law just went into place that where our first date for kindergarten used to be September 30th, 5 by September 30th. Now it is 5 by the first day of instruction. So that's going to change and shift the enrollment as to
And
who's
that is
even
brand
eligible.
new information.
And that just came out,
Yes.
so we're working on all the details and waiting on there's gonna be some significant policy changes with all of this in House Bill 96 and a couple other measures.
That was a law that was just recently
It was just signed,
signed, and for what calendar year does that begin, or school
It
year?
begins this
next
school
year,
year.
so 26, 27.
So do we think we'll get back to K-5, 4 classes at some point?
If we
Do you know what I
can,
mean, like the buildings the way
Yeah.
they're supposed to be?
if we can, that's the goal. But we've always needed to have that flexibility that's out there.
Yes, if we're saying the dreaded word redistricting, yes.
Well, because
I
it's,
think
because it's so weird, you have
Because
4
sometimes.
classes over here, but then you've got like the outlier, like who gets to go in that class?
Yeah. And so
Social
that we
class.
did-
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like-
And I think holistically, like, you know what I mean, so I'll look at a class and say, okay, 300, that divides into, you know what I mean, nicely, if we had the perfect world, into 12 classrooms of X, you know what I mean? And so, yes, I think that that's a realistic thing to get back to 4 classrooms.
I mean, these classes with 260, 250 are really, they're a significant difference.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're running a section less at Buckeye and a section less at Parkside because of them.
And what grades are those?
That's 3rd grade is the low one, and kindergarten is as well. So 3rd grade and kindergarten are both significantly off from some of the others.
Okay, open house for the CTE wing. We wanted to get your input. We had a couple of thoughts. Chris and Nick and I were tossing around some ideas about how to do this, and we thought if you guys had any ideas. We thought about having the next board meeting in the space. I don't know how you guys feel about that, so that it's on camera. And then we wanted to do an evening, we were talking about an evening open house, like community, invite businesses. We're not, that I think we're probably not gonna be ready till February, because I'd like to get the rest of the equipment in, you know what I mean, for that, before we did that. Thoughts, ideas, what you guys wanna do? I don't know, Nick, if you wanna toss out what you're thinking?
Well, we were thinking of doing, like she had mentioned, an evening time, inviting, you know, community members, businesses who helped with the, helped write
With the
letters to
support,
get the
yeah,
grant.
yeah.
And really just, you know, having an hour and a half, 2 hour evening open house. You know, we didn't know if board members would wanna be present, maybe do it before a board meeting or do it separately. So we thought we'd just see what your guys' thoughts were.
Well, having a board meeting in there would be fine, I don't care.
Yeah, that'd be neat. And perhaps though, were you thinking of having the open house perhaps in the same day, same evening?
Well, if we did that, then we'd push the board meeting back probably to the February board meeting, which I don't care, that's fine, you know what I mean? Or we could do the January one in there to just kind of tease it and say, you know what I mean, we're gonna be holding an open house in this space.
Would there be less furniture in the way if we held the meeting in January and
Yes.
had open house in February? Probably makes more sense then.
We have to see how much furniture is put together by next week, because that's when the meeting is.
Yeah, oh, I know.
So-
Well, right now, I mean,
Yeah.
we have, and we could just do chairs. I mean, we don't need anything
No.
but the board
Chairs and
table, you know what I
tables,
mean,
yeah.
really. We could pull these in if we needed to, but, or I could holler at the kids to get on it, yeah.
It could be like the real world, they could work overtime.
Send maintenance in there to help them,
Yeah.
or the custodians we could get.
I think the one thing we don't have in that CTE wing, because we haven't quite made the decision on, but we're really excited about, is the healthcare actually equipment. We had talked about doing a virtual autopsy table, that's really expensive. We just met with a VR headset company that can do kind of the same thing in a VR standpoint, so we're looking at using and partnering with this company to develop VR software for, not to start with our anatomy class, where they actually put on a headset, they actually see the body and can kind of pull, with your gestures, pull across muscles and get on it. It's really
That's really cool.
neat, but then the company itself is willing to work with us to develop other types of curricula for not only the sciences, but then we had talked about, and they develop this all the time, they develop real world software for Amazon, where part of Amazon training is you put on the headset and then you know what it's like to be on the production floor when you're in Amazon. So working with that software to look at what other offerings can we offer for construction, can we simulate what it's like to work on a ladder 30 feet up, or on a lift 30 feet up,
Sure.
and kind of do some work with that. Can we look at offering, I always joke about underwater welding, but can you really simulate what underwater welding looks like? We have all this welding type software. Can you look at potentially looking at automotive and expanding our programs to add new careers, but using this VR to kind of start with it. So it's really is efficient and kind of cutting edge, but then also in that space, if we did an automotive program, we could bring eventually a car and 2 fix in that space, because it's so flexible in the way that it was built. There's a lot of different options there
Yeah.
to expand the program. So we're excited about that, where we're going with that, and then being that this company wants to kind of get off the ground with us, they've been really open to feedback and kind of what this looks like and what the next steps are, and giving the right teachers to run with it. It's been really exciting too.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. My 2 older daughters just were given a VR headset for Christmas, and what they can do with it is mind-blowing. She brought it to me last night, and you can conduct an orchestra if you wanted to, and it kind of cues you as to when the music starts and stops. And I didn't know it was in the medical field, but I guess
It is really something that we are, like, so they've got the anatomy part of it, and they're really excited about it, and some of the things that are, some of the concerns I have from the initial VR of safety, because you put that headset on, you can't see anything. There's a way that you can kind of block yourself in, so when you walk into, like, out of the area, so it'll clear it, show you where that you're in the real world and bring you back. So you can take a step back, so you're not going to walk into tables or walls or any of that sort of thing. It kind of sets up almost like a fence.
Yeah. Sure.
to work with that. It's gonna be, it was really exciting to see what they can do with it. And it's so much, it is probably a lot more cost effective than just buying a table with a
Oh, for
one-off
sure.
thing.
That only does one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe we'll do the meeting in January in the new space, kind of tease it a little bit, and then look at a
Yeah.
day in February to do more of an open house. And then if we want to set that date, I don't think we're ready to set it yet until I can get a better idea of when that equipment's coming in. But then we could set a date that the board, that's, you know what I mean, good for everyone on the board in case you guys want to be here. And if you don't, that's fine too. Do you know
That
what I
would be
mean? So
the
we'll do it
same
that way.
for, that was, we were gonna have a discussion at the table on Monday, or the next meeting about Riverview, because a lot of people expressed that, and potentially just having a meeting at one of our monthly meetings at Riverview and doing a tour
Oh,
of
okay,
the space there as well,
Okay.
just to kind of see those two.
okay.
So kind of
So we'll
both,
do that.
yeah.
So when we notice that, can you help me remember, Nick, that we need to let Mike know that
We don't notice regular meetings, so
We would just have to notice the
We would
change.
have to-
Yeah, the change of location, that's what,
Just in
okay, all
different
right,
spots.
to make sure we're,
Will
or
we
you
do
communicate
videos
that.
of those areas too that we'll be able to post, like video tour?
I think even TDA would help us with some of that when it's
yeah.
done.
TDA, I know they did one pre,
Mhm.
and they were gonna do one post too.
Okay.
I'll talk with Ryan, not
Yeah.
Ryan Schmidt,
'Cause
but
that's somebody who
Ryan
can't come.
Caswell.
Yeah.
And still
Yeah.
have the ability to see.
Perfect. Okay, one of the things that we're going to do this year that I wanted you to be aware of is we are involved in a professional development for student agency, which is student choice. And part of what we're doing through that professional development are student experience interviews. They're basically student focus groups, okay? We're doing, it's going to be for kids between 4th and 12th grade. Just wanted you to be aware. Always think it's better that you know this kind of stuff is going on. I have wanted you to get eyes on what the permission slips are. So the difference here is that, actually I'll just send these around, take one of each of them. So one is a facilitator. So we have trained our coaches, our instructional coaches, on teaching kids and training kids. So kids will be leading these focus groups. They'll have an adult there, there'll be a staff member around. But essentially the students facilitate the groups for their peers. And they talk about what your experience in school has been like. You know, what was good, what was bad, what did you like, what do you wish your teachers knew about you, you know, that kind of thing. All of the facilitators, there's a permission slip for student facilitators. Parents will sign off saying, yes, it's okay for my student to be trained and to do this work. And then any students that we ask to be a part of the interviews will also have a signed permission slip that the parents will have to turn in. The coaches are looking to get,
Is this group?
It'll be in a group, yep, yep. They're looking to they've already set it up at the high school and the middle school, how they kind of want to run the groups and how the days are going to look and how they're going to transition kids in and out, working with the principals. They really are shooting to get about 100 kids per grade level. I think that's a lot, but we'll see if they can do that because they really want good feedback from the kids. Facilitators will be mainly 8th through 12th graders. We're going to pull in a couple of 6th and 7th graders so we start to train the next generation. But no, elementary students will be facilitators. Those kids will go down and work with and the 6th and 7th graders will work in conjunction with an upperclassman. But I wanted to make you aware that it was happening. Again, it's all with parent permission. The interesting thing is working through the student organization or the student agency professional development, the meetings will all be recorded. No student names are collected, it's not, but they will then compile the data and we will have a good cross-section, which is why they're trying to get about 100 kids, that'd be about a third of the kids per grade level, on student thoughts and opinions on Riverside schools. So we've talked about having, you know what I mean, conversations and things like that. This data will then be part of those conversations where we're looking forward as to where do we want to go, what do we want to do, and we'll have some student voice in that conversation. So
This is great.
it's a pretty cool idea. I am really interested to see the data that comes from that.
Well, whatever, this would be great for the, looking at the, evaluating the current strategic plan and then even potentially moving forward with
Yes,
a refresh of the new one.
again, with the thoughts that you're gonna do some of those conversations again, you know what I mean, or coffees or whatever kitschy name you're going to give them with Chris. This will just be another voice, and you couldn't possibly do the number of kids, you know what I mean, couldn't get to the number of kids that I think this process will allow us to gather data from. So I think it'll be interesting to get that information back. Follow-up, Effective Leadership Academy, they do, this was a program that we invested in. This might be our 3rd year. And this we started trying to help the transition, during the transition years, meaning 5th to 6th grade and 7th to 8th grade. So they come in and they do, this organization works with our 6th graders, comes in at the beginning of the year and helps them learn how to do some middle school stuff, be a little bit more independent, do you know what I mean, make good choices, meeting new people. So that's the 6th grade part. The 7th to 8th grade part is divided into 2, and that's the data that you have back, that the information that they supplied. I just got it, so I put it on the agenda. They do a beginning of the year with the 7th graders. No, that's not true. They do an end of the year with the 7th graders and a beginning of the year with the 8th graders. So we actually split their 8-week courses into a, hey, let's get you ready and thinking about going into the high school. And then we do 3 or 4 weeks with them in classrooms. The organization comes in, they send their teachers in, their educators in, and facilitators, and then we do 3 to 4 weeks as they just come in as 8th graders about setting goals and meeting people and communication. And that's what this piece is this 8th grade piece that they did at the beginning of the year, the feedback, the information, and the data that they had from working with our 8th graders. We all know that 8th grade especially, it's one thing, which is why I was like doing it at the end of 7th grade year is fine, but it's when they get over here, we've talked about this for years, how difficult it is for some students to do that transition. So this is one of the things that we're trying to do to help bridge that.
And what do they talk about? That's like when kids go to college. They have to,
So if you look at
they have to go to the same thing.
yes, yes, a freshman experience
Right.
kind of thing. So they
I don't
talk
care if
about
it's a week or like whatever, but
Yeah.
they still have to do it.
they're working on communication, they're working on goal setting. I think it goes through there and talks about what areas they are. First
Growth mindset.
impressions, they being an active learner, things like that. So I think they go into the social studies classes also over here.
Is there any time when they do that with the 8th graders where they do sort of like a college freshman experience? Because freshman experience at college level is a little bit different. They tell you all about the different organizations at school, and they tell you about we tell them all about the different groups that are here. And
Riverside Ready gets into that a little bit and kind of takes them through some, not only are they ready, not only career-based, but it's also ready for high school. So that, and every 8th grader has to take that course.
like here's theater, here's band, here's all the groups that you could
Yep.
join. There's academic decathlon, there's this, there's that, there's,
We're also going to do something.
here's where the library is. This is what we do in the library. Just stuff that you would think people don't know.
Right, and they're, when they come in the summer for their orientation, they're not paid. All they want is
No.
their schedule, and they
Right.
want to walk around and see where their classes are. So the Riverside Ready class in 8th grade, but we are going to do some more of that with them in 9th grade, with a little bit, so that's through the business advisory, there's a committee, the Future Forward Fair. And I know 9th grade seems too late, or your initial reaction might be, because they're getting a little taste of it in 8th grade, the thought being at the beginning of 9th grade year, we start talking about what electives we have, some of the career electives, or even just regular electives, depending on what your thoughts might be for a career, what should you be looking at, and then diving in a little bit deeper into some of the clubs and activities that are offered here, not just in school, but also what can you do in the community kind of thing. Because 9th grade, we feel like they're a little bit more settled.
Is there anything that we could do that's video-based so that you could have little modules about like things that kids could look at over the summer, even if they wanted, like start getting, you know,
I hadn't thought
between
about that, but
7th and
that's not a
8th
bad
grade,
idea.
you know,
That's a
like-
great idea.
Yeah.
Like, so that they could start looking at things and kind of get excited for what's to come, and
Yeah.
here are the things that we could participate in, so they could hit the ground running, maybe.
That's a great idea. That might, we,
Professional videos, do you know what I mean, like, and.
even for curriculum night that's coming up, we're having the teams come out for those career electives, to do like a 30-second elevator pitch that's not just the reading, but kind of, hey, this is,
And you could charge all of your groups for coming up with their material
Yes.
for what it is that they work on and whatnot, and I'm sure they could put
Oh,
together
absolutely.
clips, you know, like service projects they do, honor society, like all the things that they work on.
I think that's a great idea.
that would be really strong.
Then it's
And then you
accessible all the
can,
time.
then you can save them, and they're
Yes.
right, they're accessible all the time. If somebody wants to just look at one, you have a whole menu of, chapters, I could just look at this one, here's
Yeah.
the whole package. And
Yeah,
You could add things, subtract things, and
I like that, and I will bring it up in that committee.
Yeah.
Subject acceleration policy, we had talked about that prior to the December meeting, I think, and there was some question about whether or not we would be transporting kids. I just wanted to make the two of you aware that the acceleration, student acceleration is changing per law. And so it's gonna be something that we potentially have to address, which is why I put it on here, is that there may be a point where this committee, it may be in my tenure, it may not, depending on how quickly legislation moves, that there are some decisions that have to be made on how we work with students who are accelerated. Right now, what we do is fine, and we accommodate student needs, and we found ways, because it's such a small number, but there's the potential that it could grow, and I know that Chris is concerned about that, but we have to wait to see how the law unfolds and what the mandates are. So I just wanted to put that on your radar in that it's not to bed yet completely. It might be, but it may not be.
I would assume it comes from this upcoming update from Neola, which is coming out soon, that there's gonna be something in it, because it was signed into law as part of House Bill 96. It's messy right now, hoping it's one of those that gets cleaned up a little bit, and I think they're going to, but I think it's out there. The other one that didn't make the list, because I just didn't get a chance to put it on there, is the AI policy. We are required to have an AI policy by the beginning of next school year. I met with a team of students to start talking about AI, and it was a really cool discussion. More interesting than you would think, where it's not, where students are kind of hesitant a little about AI and how to kind of dip their toes into it a little bit. So we do have to have an AI policy. We'll get some of the guidelines from Neola as to that, but it does involve, if we're going to do it, we definitely want to have student voice, teacher voice as well, because we know that our teachers are using it, and the majority of them too, sometimes when they're using it, they think like they're cheating the system a little bit, because it is so easy, it is so convenient, and it just changes the way that we think. But even students are like, well, I really like AI for Algebra 2, because I'll put the problem in, but then it'll be like, give me problems like that so I can practice so I can go and learn it. So some of our students are really trying to utilize it that way. They said, well, a lot of students didn't want to come because they thought you were just going to get us in trouble for cheating. And it's almost like, no, that's not, but how do we have to teach you so that in this system of AI you can grow? And I think that's a big thing we're doing a lot with. So we're really looking forward to kind of see what happens with that and how we can kind of continue to give our kids those tools to move forward, but then also use it responsibly and make sure that what they do is give the sources that they need and give credit to it. So.
And today, our district leadership team, technology team meets committee, and they're taking the state, what the state put out, starting to look at that model policy to see what they think might work for Riverside and what might not. So we are starting to work on that
Nice.
today.
Good.
All right, you're up, sister.
All right. I wanted to just share two different reports that the Ohio Department of Education provides to each school district annually. In our November meeting, we did talk about our special education rating, but I just wanted to put these two together and give you guys a little bit more information. That rating is provided to us in November. I'm happy to share that we did meet expectations, and that is the highest rating, even though it's not very glamorous in how it's described. That means that we have consistently demonstrated compliance as well as positive outcomes for students. In December, our preliminary special education profile was released. That also really looks at compliance in terms of whether the district met expectations. And I'm happy to share that we met all expectations. So our profile is green, and we like to see a lot of green when we get that report. We will get the finalized copy of that profile in May. That will have more information about student growth, closing gaps, those types of things, which are very important for us to be looking at. But for right now, from early childhood to post-secondary outcomes, we've met the expectations that the state has set for us, which just really goes to the hard work that our teachers, intervention specialists are putting forth to ensure that we're meeting those expectations and having positive outcomes for students. Any questions about this?
That's great.
Okay.
Is it the profile that gives us the percentages, like on gap closing, or is it the rate?
It does.
And our graduation rate and things like that? Okay, I just couldn't remember which
Yes,
one it was.
so the current profile does have graduation rates, which we exceeded, as well as dropout rates, which were
Okay.
very close to the percentage. But the final copy will have how our students performed fourth grade, eighth grade,
Okay,
high
okay,
school
yeah, okay.
outcomes in math and reading, as well as gap closing in those areas. So
Do
we don't-
those reports break down, you know how in the foundation reports, your payment reports, you can get, if you drill into the detail, you can get the information on your class of students that have disabilities? Does it tell,
This
like,
is just for students with disabilities.
right,
This
like,
report.
right, and it tells you, here's the different classes of disability, 1 through whatever it is.
Oh, the categories?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
so how your
categories,
kids
right.
with students with autism did, how your students with
Right, like,
specific
does it
learning
break that
disabilities.
down
It-
so that you
It can, we can drill down that information.
It's always important, I guess, like which areas of students are doing better and which ones.
If
Yes.
you have a discrepancy in one, it lets you know it.
And we don't,
Specifically in
we
those
don't have
categories,
any
and we do not,
discrepancies
no.
or disproportionalities right now in terms of identification, which does come out of these reports as well. As part of our self-review that we're just finishing up for special education in our district, my final report is due in March, and those are some of the things that we had to look at. So once that's done, I'll be, sharing that information with you guys. It is looking at a variety of data, not just student outcomes, but also things like perspective. So we're doing some surveys of both administrators, teachers, and parents to get input from them. Looking at our internal monitoring processes and seeing how our documents look across the board. So there's a variety of things that go into that final report, but that is one of them.
That is one of them. It's, just interesting data, I guess.
Absolutely. So the last thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about is we're starting to prepare for preschool registration. The general preschool registration will open on February 9th to new students who would like to participate in our preschool program. We are going to do a priority registration for returning students, which will start, typically we would start this week, but because of the new information in regards to the kindergarten start date, which also will affect our preschoolers, we're pushing that to the 20th. So that will run from the 20th into the 30th, so we can definitely accommodate our returning students. Julie Weber is trying to take a look at how many students fall into that category of affecting students who most likely thought they would be going on to kindergarten, who may now have to return to preschool for another year.
How do we organize our preschool, like by grade level, age level? Like 3-year-old classrooms, 4-year-old classrooms, like how many do we have, how
It's-
many students do we have? And do we give priority to returning families even if they don't
We
have?
do. Yes. So siblings,
Yeah.
we do give priority registration to as well. Typically, morning classes are going to be your younger students, so probably a mixture of 3 and 4-year-old students.
Are
and
they
then
combined?
They are combined. And they're integrated, so it's a ratio of 8 and 8, so 8 students with disabilities and 8 typically developing students. The afternoon I would suggest is our older students who would be preparing to go to kindergarten, probably not napping anymore.
And how many kids do we take?
So currently we have 4 classrooms, morning and afternoon,
So we have 8.
8
Right.
8
sessions.
sections.
That
How
is
many?
correct.
And
There's
16 in each
16
class?
kids, right?
Yeah.
Up to.
Up to, yes.
Do
We're
we
at
still have a-
capacity for typicals, we still
Yes.
have some openings for students with disabilities.
Do we still have a waiting list for?
We still have a waiting list, but it is small.
So in previous years, typically preschool registration for generals
Like
filled,
full in
filled
10
within,
minutes,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of the registrations are priority, so it's returning families, so for new families, there's not a ton of,
Is there a charge for preschool?
Yes. For typicals.
Yeah, for typicals.
Any other questions about that? Okay.
Okay,
We get
dates.
preschool funding though now, don't we? We get money for preschool students.
We
We
do for
get
students
some,
with,
I know
but
it's
it's
not-
not, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't come near.
I know
covering
that,
the
but
cost.
like,
Yeah,
but you
there's
get
some.
money.
Meeting dates.
April 16th and July, so the 2 16ths are gonna coincide with the traditional, we haven't scheduled those dates yet, but the finance and audit are always the week before the board meeting.
Okay. I don't know that July will be necessary.
Well, and then the other ones are all.
Just so
yeah.
you-
No, I know, I just wanted.
What, is it finance?
Finance and audit is always the week before the board meeting.
Is it on Monday?
No, I didn't, these aren't Mondays, I switched from
No,
Oh, what
Mondays.
are
no,
they?
the 16th is a Thursday.
What are these
Yeah,
dates?
I think
Wednesdays
they're
and Thursdays.
Wednesdays and Thursdays.
And not that it matters to me, but the 13th is also a regular board meeting.
May 13th?
August, excuse me.
Yeah, August, well, the September 24th is a board meeting. All of those after them are on board meetings.
Melissa won't even be here for.
I didn't do
Yes.
those dates.
you're right, I did, that's my bad.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, I don't know if it matters that much,
Okay.
just have to take quick notes.
Or we can adjust the schedule once.
Last year's,
Yeah.
that's when I thought.
So I would say,
I just wanna make sure they don't conflict with, buildings and grounds will stay consistent on a day, correct? Is there?
Typically, building and grounds
It was.
stays consistent on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Melissa was a little hesitant to schedule the fall meetings, just because we don't have our new curriculum director in place.
they
I'd
might
love to
have
get them on
children,
it.
they can't do 7:30 in the
Yeah.
morning.
I'd like to have them on the calendar and adjust it.
Yeah, we had our finance meetings at 8, because so we were trying 7:30.
Plenty of people from children, so.
The person who runs the meeting.
Okay.
And then I don't really care what you do, so that's perfect. Well, do we want to move April to the 15th? That's tax day, Belinda. Is that a bad
I'll
day?
be done. honey.
You'll be done by then?
Okay.
I think the 16th makes it so much better, like that's.
Because we could move the.
Oh, no, the 16th was usually the day like you didn't come to work.
Right.
Oh, 'cause you were, yeah, 'cause you were
Because you
so
were exhausted.
exhausted. That would put you guys though back-to-back meetings. You'd have a Wednesday and a Thursday. Is that an
Okay, I have a
issue?
Monday and a Tuesday.
Okay, so we'll switch it
I mean, I
to,
don't care.
April will move to the 15th.
Okay.
I say July, we just let hang out there right now.
Okay.
Like we'll, either change the day, or to be honest with you, I mean, there's not, curriculum-wise, there's just not a lot in July. We can do, I'm not opposed to doing one, but sometimes that's one, either the June or July one we usually float.
Okay.
So we'll just leave that one hang out there and we'll see what we need.
That's fine.
Okay,
So these are all good, but April 16th is moved to the 15th.
correct. And we're gonna, I'm gonna say let's scratch the July one, and then we'll schedule it if we need to. Does that sound good?
Mhm.
Okay, because you guys know that you'll have a finance meeting on that day.
This year, we didn't have December as well.
Oh, February 19th is the same as well. Can we move February to the 18th? I'm sorry.
Because none of them were on the calendar, that's why I didn't know.
What's in the
When,
way of that?
when I was writing these dates
Finance and
out.
audit is usually the week
It's
before.
usually the Thursday before board
Yeah,
meeting.
because of agenda reviews.
Yes, we can move that to.
So we're making it February 18th.
February 18th.
March 18th is okay?
March 18th would be good. It's a Wednesday.
April 15th, May 13th was okay?
Yes, they're all Wednesdays.
December staying too.
July 16th is your finance meeting.
Yeah, so we'll take that one off and we'll schedule a July meeting if we need to.
Is there typically not a December one?
Well, the,
December's a
We
short
didn't
month.
have one this year.
Yeah.
the board meetings between November and December are typically 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's
2 or 3
tough to
weeks.
get one in.
And just take
So you want to take the December one off? Okay, because I'll give this to Danelle and Mike to
You okay
make
with
sure
that?
they post them.
That could be a TBD. If we need one, we'll have it.
Does it make sense to just schedule them all, if we're gonna do all the ones at the beginning of the year on a Wednesday, to schedule all the rest of them on a Wednesday?
On a
Like, I
Wednesday?
don't care.
Wednesday before the board meeting? We go from there?
Like either the day before or the week before, I don't care, I just like to put things on my calendar, it's easy to,
Yeah.
it's easy to say repeat than it is to have to schedule.
So do you want to do August on the 12th then? That's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then September would
Sorry,
be-
Melissa.
So
That's
just do
okay.
the,
Oh, I don't care. I didn't, like I said, the, up until June are the.
I mean, like September, I could do the 16th, the 23rd, it doesn't matter to me, what are you thinking? Like,
if you don't mind doing it the day before, it's probably easier to do it the day before.
Okay,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
it's backing up one number.
Yeah.
yeah, and the 21st would be a Wednesday as well for October.
Yeah. Right, the 21st is a Wednesday.
And November 18th is a Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, so we have, just let me run through these because I want to be sure when I give them. February 18th,
yes,
March 18th,
yes,
Mhm.
April 15th,
yes,
May 13th,
yes.
June 17th,
Mhm.
August 12th, September 23, October 21, November 18.
Yeah.
Good? Okay.
And then if you put one on for December, it would be the 16th, but
Yeah,
Okay.
we can put it as a holder.
whatever.
Do you want me to have them put a placeholder on that one? And I can put a
You wanna know
placeholder
what,
on
you
July.
might as well, because otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise my calendar starts
Yeah.
to get full of work
Okay,
and then.
so it's blocked off. All right, so we have December
December
16th,
16th.
and then what would July's be?
The 15th,
Okay.
if it's a Wednesday.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll just have them put them on and then you can cancel them if you don't, whatever you don't want to do. Okay.
Yeah, if I don't get them on my work calendar, I'm like,
Yep, that makes sense.
no, I gotta sync my district calendar with my work calendar.
And they're all 7:30, correct?
Yes.
Or do you use Google at work?
No, we use that.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, so-
Okay. Belinda, did you have something you wanted to bring up for the good of the
So,
order?
I just wanted to know, like, I know that we talk about all these things here, but as we sit and consider as a board what it is that we want to work on as a district, I had written down some things that we've had conversations about, but we never discuss at the board table. We never really discuss in committee. And for me, driving those conversations should be done here, I think. And so I just wrote these down. I can send these to you again. I had sent myself an email. I wrote myself a list so that I wouldn't forget. So I know that we've talked about the guidance department. I don't know if this is an appropriate forum for that conversation. I don't know what we've done with the department, where we're planning on going with that. So I thought maybe we could have some conversations around that and explore that.
You'll
topic.
send this to me?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all right,
And then, I'm sure that if we're gonna be redoing the strategic plan, and we're gonna be updating that and talking about that, some of this can be wrapped in and,
Okay.
you know, like,
Yep.
conversation about that. How do we plan to improve district overall report card ratings and test scores How do we evaluate effectiveness of those initiatives? So the plan that you came up with last year and introduced and whatever, like how are we, that to me is a curriculum thing. And we don't
Absolutely
talk
is.
overall about students and learning. We talk about all these things, but we don't talk about what is the initiative. Why is that initiative? Why is that one important? Why are we focusing on this? Like what do we think that's gonna do for the district, whatever. So, the gifted program, that's always been a big one for me. How we choose curriculum materials and how they're vetted. How do we evaluate those chosen materials for effectiveness? What is our philosophy on reading at grade level before advancement? Rigor, that's your favorite word. Should focus, don't get me wrong, don't take what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna
Come
say
with a
it.
preface, that's,
And this one comes with a preface.
okay.
Should focus be on basics and what is the purpose of all the extra stuff? I know we have to do, what do they call those, graduation, credentials. Don't know whether or not I'm a fan of that stuff or not. Is it really getting kids ready for college or career from an employer perspective? I have my doubts. I'm just saying this as an employer, like somebody who goes out and has to hire people and whatever, and what I see coming out of schools in general, and how are we preparing kids when, like, I'm just gonna put this out there for an example, like they can't even write an email, they can't even put a sentence together, like, good Lord, by the time they get out of high school, they should be able to put together paragraphs and papers and whatever, but I find that lacking. And what are we doing to improve executive function skills beginning with day one of kindergarten, right? I believe executive function skill is important, and they don't develop that as well as I think we should. And so that's my list. And that, like, for me, that was like, in addition to these things, which are the everyday stuff that goes on here, what are the big things that we should focus on as a board in driving the district forward, right? So.
I feel like what you said, some of that is, because I was thinking about it over the weekend, because Belinda had emailed me and said, hey, I want to have a little bit of a bigger conversation.
But I
about
didn't
some-
email her my list.
She did not email me the list, which is why she had to preface some of it with, no, but I do think that the strategic plan is going to, and I think it's time for that to be redone. Chris
I
has
would
already
agree. I
talked
think
about
it's,
that.
I almost think it's time to really look at this strategic plan and start, and like,
Right, we have to
whether
start.
you want to call it a refresh or a rebuild. A lot of our strategic plan is about putting structures in place, putting a facilities plan. It was dealt on facilities and things. I mean, there was some teaching and learning in there, but it was very kind of just, I mean, it needs to be essential onto our students, what we expect our students to gain when they walk in, and what the experience is like when they walk out, kind of what, and those executive skills need to be a part of it. I think that even in the 5 years since the strategic plan has been in existence, or 4 or 5 years, the educational landscape has changed tremendously, and how we teach kids and what we're doing. I think we're doing the right work, and it's based on the strategic plan, but I think the strategic plan overall guides all of those statements, and all those statements are really good questions, because there's the basics, and then there's also the, how do we continue to personalize for our kids who come in reading and who can't and are gifted?
And I get back to some of this, like as kids get older and we're doing all this personalized learning and whatever, what is that bringing students after graduation? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no,
These
no,
are big
yeah.
initiatives that you guys
No,
have
they
worked
are.
on. However, again, from an employer perspective, I think, I don't know, do we do all this other stuff in the short time that we have students, and then we have moved away from some basic instructional stuff that now there's not enough time to do it all. So if we're choosing to do X, Y, and Z, but now we're not working on the A, B's, and C's as much, that's to me is an issue.
When you take the personalized approach, when you take a personalized approach to learning, and it's not just at the upper levels, it's at all levels.
Well,
So,
it is.
but it is okay, so working with the basic stuff with one student who doesn't have a grasp of that, but then on the same token with the student who understands that basic stuff, we're pushing them to evaluate and do more. And then how do you close the gap between one and the other is the challenge and is the work that we're really working with choice and.
It would just be
pushing
really,
the
really
agency.
interesting to find out, like, is that really driving improvements in student?
Oh, we can bring
Right.
third grade data.
Yes.
And-
Third grade math team that's doing it
Do you
is
know what I'm
knocking
saying?
it out of the park, which is why we're
Well,
making that
and-
move to
Which is,
the new
but that's
classrooms.
the stuff that I don't think people hear, and people who are on one side of the fence, we just need to go back to the basics, where I'm on the fence about some things, right? Like, I
Mhm.
sometimes feel like, I don't know, maybe we need to go back to some basics, and we need to have some blend.
We do.
But if we don't give people that information about it is improving test scores, then people just come back to saying, you need to teach the old way. I'm an old school person,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna say whether I'm one way or the other.
We have always, and Dr. Walker and I always sit there, and we have always cautioned about going too far to one end or the other, and always kind of sitting in the middle and having that balance. There is still a need, and there will always be a need for direct instruction. You know, you have to learn this, and I am going to be the person who puts this in your head, and you are going to learn it from me, because this is the most efficient way to get this information into your head and to teach this. But then, the other part of that is, how do we expand that and kind of getting in the middle? So we're not gonna go way too deep into one end, but we're not gonna go straight all the way back to, you know, you're gonna sit in rows and all that, because that doesn't work either.
No, I
And
don't think that does,
it
but I
is-
think, I guess what I'm
finding the
saying is
balance.
some of the basic tenets of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
spelling sentences are important. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
just the
Oh,
basic
absolutely.
stuff
There is-
that a lot of people don't see anymore, and the complaints that I hear.
Just because you don't see it in the traditional
I
way
get it.
doesn't mean that it's not there.
But it's
just a little
important,
bit
I think, for
different.
people
Yes.
to understand what
I
does
think
it
we need
look
to
like.
point out
Yeah.
where it is.
Can I, so I
From an old school,
know, I get it, I totally understand. I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a perspective from what it's been like to sit in this position for the past year.
oh, I understand.
So I would suggest that some of these conversations happen at the board table and not necessarily in this committee.
I would agree
You
too,
know what I mean?
and I think
That's-
it should be driven by the strategic
Yeah,
plan. I think
yes.
it should be driven by what the board decides that they want their
And then
goals
we
to be.
figure out how it
Correct.
looks in classrooms, and we have those
we-
conversations here.
Gotten way too far away from that, which is
Yes.
why I said I think the
How
committee meeting
committees-
is the first one, we should have some conversation about
Mhm.
how we're gonna
Oh,
drive that.
I think it needs to come back to, and I would say back to, we have got to go out and I think bring stakeholders in, listen to the community, what's their perspective of the education that they're getting? What are our parents, what are our local businesses saying from our students? And kind of gather some of that with a true stakeholder gathering to say
And
this
have
is-
some work
yeah.
sessions that we don't have.
The exciting part about
Sorry.
the student data that comes out is our students are gonna tell us what they think about their experience.
Yes.
And we're gonna
But
get that
you're
information.
you're gonna retire and somebody else is going to be coming in,
Mhm.
and without some clear direction,
You can mold them and shape them to be whatever you want them to be.
Do you know what
Isn't
I
that
but
exciting?
without some clear direction
No,
on
oh,
where
yes.
the community, this is the perfect
Believe
time
me,
to do
this
it, and
is
we
a
don't.
whole-
We,
yes,
we
yes.
absolutely
Yeah.
need to start with
Yeah.
everything that we have, kind of we're caught in limbo of. We need to set a guide, like a guide stone in a strategic plan, and we need to get that
Yeah.
moving. And
You know, like the
and
Auburn
stakeholders.
thing, if
Absolutely.
parents don't like it and students don't like it, why do we continue it? I'm just asking the
Yeah,
question, I'm not
yeah,
saying they do or don't,
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
right,
like
yeah, yeah.
maybe we can say, it just didn't seem to work out the way we intended,
Yeah.
we need to pivot, whatever, but we don't, I don't know, like, we don't have those conversations.
No, yeah, I
No,
don't,
I
I
would,
don't
I would
disagree
agree.
with you.
We have them internally, we have them with students, we have them kind of with our communities. We don't necessarily do as good a job as we could in terms of sharing that.
Yeah.
So when you look at the Auburn Academy and the research from that, and we shared a little bit last year, but we didn't continue to share out what that looks like and kind of where it is year two, and all of that, because the feedback from that has been really positive along the way and kind of continues to grow from all stakeholders involved. And it's not 100%, and nothing's gonna be 100%, but in terms of the most of it, it's been really positive, really strong, and I think it's continued to. We do sometimes struggle celebrating our wins and our victories, and because we're putting out fires. And I think sometimes it's, okay, let's take a second back and say, these are the great things we do, and kind of continue to work on that. And I think
So-
we're gonna get back to that. We did it, and we got away from it.
Do you want me
for
to
a little
forward
bit.
this?
Yes, I would
Yeah.
like you to send it to both of us,
Yes.
obviously.
I'll send it to you also. I did,
Yeah.
right, I didn't
What-
put anybody on it, because
Yeah.
I was like,
So, it's great to have this conversation. What do you think the next steps are? Like, how do we start to do what you're asking? Is it a conversation at the board table? Is it, I don't know, is it starting with a strategic plan? Because Chris is that's already on his radar, so do we let that move forward? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't wanna have this conversation, walk away, and then next month you go, okay, and we're still spinning our wheels on, hey,
and
we
some
all
of
think this is
this,
a good
like,
idea.
getting a handle on this, I'm not gonna say is a tomorrow thing. You
Yeah,
can't-
okay.
You can't do all that in a day, but we can talk about some of it. This is how we choose a curriculum. This
Okay.
is how we vet a curriculum. You know,
Yeah.
in the past year, we had some conversations about some curriculum stuff. There has been some stuff out there, and I'm like, how do we even vet that material?
Okay.
Like, right, how is that even appropriate for it to be in there? You know, do we as a district say, oh,
Yes.
I don't like that? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're at the mercy of sometimes of curriculum
The companies.
companies
Yeah,
that create
yeah.
it or whatever. And do we read every page? Do we not read it? You know, like, as we see, do we read it as we see things?
We
and
do,
say,
we do
okay,
not read every page.
Do you know what I'm
I will
saying?
start
But
with
like,
that.
how do we?
That's the
Yeah,
first.
Right,
I
and
see
so
what you're
Yeah.
saying,
It's
yeah,
those
so we
kinds
have
of
an
things that would be
understanding
interesting
of-
for a board to have some understanding, at least the committee to have some understanding of that's how that works.
So some of these are low hanging fruit.
They
Where
are.
we could have conversations just at this committee so that you better understand.
Right,
But some of them.
but some of them are
yeah.
larger, right, like our
Yeah.
gifted program, that's a larger conversation.
There's a lot of those that are in there that when we have talked about kind of strategic planning and organizational structures and those sorts of things, and what this looks like. I think it all fits to that and kind of how we provide services and what we believe in services and how we offer services and what is there. And there's been a lot of work kind of building up that foundation, and the foundation's there, and now it really is, you know, fleshing it out and looking at what it is and then getting it down so that it's out there, so that we have those.
I think the strategic planning conversation has to come like, okay, these are things that the board determines, I don't know, our bigger picture items.
It's much bigger.
And then starting up with the strategic plan and then letting that drive
What
some of
is
this
the
information,
board's
right?
tenor for, I mean, it's also how are we going to do it? What's the tenor for, truly, are we bringing a company in? Are we gonna go with the company that we used? Are we gonna interview a few companies to do it? To kind of come out there with focus groups, with who we wanted, how large of a net do we want to cast? The larger net we cast, the longer it takes to kind of put something in place. But I think in terms of what that looks like ultimately, and then really getting back to what a strategic plan is, you know, if we put this huge, you know, magazine together with 97 pages,
Nobody
no one's
uses
gonna
it,
follow
right? Like
that.
we've all determined that.
Yeah,
It's-
how can we
it's-
get it to a
it's
simple,
5 pages,
Yes,
you know,
this is what
1-page
we're doing.
document, this is the strategic plan,
Yeah.
everybody can look at it. You don't want it to go on a
Yeah.
shelf because that's a waste of money.
no, that's, can we find people to assist with that, to make it so that this makes,
The last strategic
The most
plan we
sense.
did, I felt was the most effective and has really driven our work. I mean, when I
The
look
last
back-
one?
Yeah, so I feel like the last 4 or 5 years have really been driven by that document.
We've gotten better at it.
Yes, yeah.
Over the years.
Yes,
I mean, this is like
back
what,
when
the
I
third
started, yeah.
iteration, 4th iteration of.
It was
of
kind
it.
of a free-for-all, you know what I mean? So I think the direction is better. Also, I will say, that'll start to happen, but the transition planning for this position has started also. And thinking about what does that look like? Who, you know what I mean, who here can support someone new coming in all of these different areas? Because one person knowing or understanding everything is a lot, do you know what I mean? So that conversation and those things have started.
we have learned that as Melissa's evolved into the position she is, there's a lot of local knowledge that has come with it, and a lot of, hey, we're doing this and this and this. And I mean, even, you know, I would say Camille saw that when she came into a position that was evolved into. It's a larger grasp than there was a lot, and it still feels like drinking from a fire hose, I'm sure. but how we have spread some of that out and kind of really being purposeful in what this position looks like in the future, and how we can kind of work with, you know, the local, you know, to
It takes
make
it takes a year to
it-
figure out a job.
I would even say it
Please.
takes, for where Melissa is now, it takes a lot longer than that. There's like a lot that's into it. and
Which
it
is why
yeah.
leaving somebody here that, a person that has a deeper knowledge of each area would be beneficial, I think. That's kind of how I'm looking at it with the instructional coaches and things like that. Like, you can be the point of contact for this. You can be, to help whoever, because the first year will be just learning the curriculum at Riverside. You know,
Right.
your K-12, pre-K, K-12, you know what I mean, all of the subjects, that alone is the crux of the job, but
Right.
that's where you start, and then you start to think about, you know,
And then you have all these other things.
Yeah,
to
that
deal with,
initiatives and things
professional
that we're
development,
doing, yeah,
Like all these
yeah.
other things. It's,
Well, and the laws. and
it is,
everything.
it's overwhelming,
Yes,
I get
it
it.
is
I
a
think.
large, it's a large transition.
So,
Yes.
so we'll work on it, it's
Yeah.
not.
so I
And
think-
again, perhaps you will get someone you can mold and shape to be whoever you want.
But that's.
Which would be a lovely thing, I
But
think.
hopefully that person's going to outlive board members, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's,
Well,
I
I
don't
think the
feel like
hope
it's
is
important
that,
to mold them. I think it's just
Yeah.
interesting to give perspective. Like,
Yeah.
like this is, over the course of 16 years, this is where this district has gone. We're still struggling in these areas. Like, why are we not focusing on X, Y, or Z?
Yep.
You know, parents are struggling with X, Y, and Z. Why are we not giving them a little bit more?
well, and
Why
I
are we
think
not educating them on why we're not?
that's
Like,
one way to listen to them.
Well,
Yeah.
that's,
That's part of the
you know,
focus.
how do we do that? Which is why I had asked you,
Yeah.
to like, pause
I-
for 5 minutes.
Which is
on-
fine.
You know, because I know that board members have asked
I
to
think-
be part of that process of communication and whatever, and I don't want it completely driven administratively.
Which is, no, I would agree. I think we need to have multiple, I think the more avenues we have for community.
I do,
feedback
but
and
again,
feedback,
let's bring it
but
to,
needs
let's
be-
talk about it at the board
I would
table,
almost say
how we want-
that's a key pillar of the strategic plan.
how we want all these initiatives to move forward, and how do we want,
Yes.
as a board, to be
I would
involved,
agree.
and what do we want you guys to be working on?
Sounds like some work sessions.
Right, like,
Mhm.
I hate more meetings, but like,
No, I would agree.
it's really important time.
We have a
the
lot
opportunity
of, we
to-
have a lot of work
Yes.
to do. We need to get
6
some.
months.
Well, and we have 2 years with the same board.
Yes, yes.
Available to be
really
able to
do
do
some
these
work
things,
and,
so,
so,
you know,
yeah, I agree.
to put some good things in place so that I
I would
can
agree.
leave and,
Amen, my friend.
and feel like I can.
So
go-
back
you know
to
what I
my
mean?
point
Yeah.
is, then perhaps you bring that up at the table and
I
talk
will,
about,
I
yeah.
think I had already sent Lori a
And then I'll
laundry
look-
list again
Oh,
of,
Yeah.
I'll look at
Those
some of
two
that and
little movement,
I'll
you know.
see what we, you know what I mean, kind of, again, what's the low hanging fruit?
Yeah.
We'll start talking about some different things along the way. I also think, I mean, you've been around a while, but Joe, all of this will be newer for you, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, how do we, what is our gifted policy and how do kids get into that program, you know what I mean? And talking a little bit about that. If we want to improve it, then you gotta know what the foundation
And where
is,
we
you know, the
started,
basics.
right? Like,
Yeah.
And are we
So-
compliance driven or are we truly student
Yeah,
focused driven?
uh-huh.
I think there's a big, I mean, we only have, there's only so many places where we can put our focus and what is truly going to be based on compliance or what's truly based on this is what's best for student driven. Not that I want to say we don't focus on every student, because we do, but really and truly, how do we, if you want, you know, if you want to expand some things, then we have to put some resources there to make sure that we're doing it. And we're doing it effectively, and that we're using, you know, that the resource allocation matches what our strategic plan is.
yeah.
And certainly my first few months are gonna be more observational and listening
Yeah.
to just get everyone's perspectives of the years that you've all been here to just kind of see a path forward.
Feel free to be as opinionated as you want.
This is legit probably one of the most opinionated committees that you will sit on.
It will come with
They
time.
don't let me talk in finance and personnel, so that one gets less opinionated.
Well,
My opinions will come with time, that's for sure. I can assure you that. My wife would probably agree.
All right, that's it for me.
no,
Yeah.
You guys got anything else?
I think that, so.
All right, perfect.
Have a nice morning.
All right.